Hello everyone, welcome to Screen Scream. I'm Viola. In today's episode, we're going to talk about movies that are related to men's freedom. And these two new movies we're going to talk about today are not from Hollywood. And in Top 007 session, I will cover all the good movies that are on chart this week. Now let's check out the first new movie we're going to talk about today. Flee, war-torn 1980s Kabul. Against the backdrop of the destructive Afghan war, violent civil conflict interrupts the carefree childhood of 11-year-old Amin, who finds himself forced to flee his home. But Amin manages to find refuge in Copenhagen as an unaccompanied minor. With his family scattered all over Europe, a now 36-year-old Amin looks back on the turbulent past and the attempts to hide his burgeoning sexuality, recounting well-hidden secrets and the pivotal events that shaped him as a person to his trusted companion. The first new movie we're going to talk about today is a Denmark animation. It got nominated at the 2022 Oscar Awards, including the Best International Film, Best Feature Animation, and Best Documentary. It also got 3 big awards at the 2021 European Film Awards, including the Best Animation and Best Documentary. As we heard in the introduction, the story is about how a man faces his past to own the future, and is actually based on the true story. The movie is based on the true life story of the director's best friend. So the story goes from Kabul to Copenhagen, from childhood to adulthood. For the protagonist, it crosses 5,000 kilometers to give his life to his significant other. We heard in the introduction that the story starts in Kabul, Afghanistan. I learned about this city from the movie The Kite Runner. And as we know, there's the Afghan war. And so in this movie, Flee, it tells us the story that just before Amin and his fiancée are going to get married, Amin tells his fiancée how he came all the way to Copenhagen, Denmark, from Afghanistan 20 years ago, and it was really an amazing journey. Also, he talked about his sad memories as a refugee child. It feels like he's only telling a secret to his fiancée, the person he loves so much, before their wedding day. But actually, telling this secret that he keeps for 20 years is going to threaten his life now. And that is something us as the audience needs to pay attention to while watching this movie. What makes Flee special is that it combines animation and documentary. So that is the reason why it can be nominated with both animation and documentary. So if you are interested in knowing more about Afghan war, or if you are interested in animation, even more if you like documentary, you can go watch Flee this weekend. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, today we're going to talk about men's freedom, not only finding your own life, but also true love in any form. And our next new movie is related to this topic as well. Let's listen to the introduction. Great freedom. In post-war Germany, not everybody can enjoy freedom. Hans, a man who undergoes repeated prison time as he keeps being punished for his desires, experiences its passage differently from his recurring cellmate Victor, a convicted murderer in it for the long haul. We begin in 1968 with Hans again arriving in prison. Victor, an amateur tattoo artist, offers to cover up the camp number on Hans' forearm. Over time, the two men will exchange moments of exposure and need. Their bond is shadowed throughout by Victor's deep-rooted homophobia and paragraph 175, which criminalizes homosexuality. Despite all this, Hans and Victor develop an unlikely bond. The second new movie we're going to talk about today is an Austria gay movie. The protagonist, Hans, goes back to jail again and again because he just can't give up being himself as a homosexual. But just about this time, Germany decides to abolish paragraph 175. As an Austria gay movie, Great Freedom was one of the top 15 best international films at the Oscar Awards. Although it wasn't one of the finalists, it still got Best Picture at the Vienna Film Awards. The movie tells us that only when love exists, everything has meanings. It's a work by Austrian director Sebastian Mays. As we heard in the introduction, the protagonist Hans goes into jail 3 times, meets his cellmate, Victor. In the beginning, Victor despises Hans, but falls in love with Hans eventually. And I keep saying paragraph 175. So what is paragraph 175? In paragraph 175, it says that homosexual is a crime. And that is the reason why Victor doesn't like Hans in the beginning, because he knows that Hans comes into the jail because of paragraph 175. But as they get to know each other by living together, they become good friends. Especially because one time, it is Victor's fault, but Hans replaces Victor to be punished. And so Victor is very grateful for that. I think there are many TV series or movies that are related to jail life recently. And it might be related to friendship, brotherhood, or even gay relationship. But all in all, they're all about love, different kinds of love. So no matter you're interested in watching an Austrian movie, or you want to watch a gay movie, or just a movie about love in general, you can go watch Great Freedom. It won't let you down. And that's our section about men's freedom. We talk about Flea and Great Freedom. And before we move on to Top 007, let's review what we had from last week first. Top 3, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero the movie. Top 2 was Uncharted. And Top 1, The Batman. We have a few newcomers this week, and we will talk about it in a minute. Let's see what we have from Top 7 to Top 4. Top 5, BTS Permission to Dance on Stage. Untouchable.
因為我是更生人，所以愛報道。
等位老爺。
Top 4, Dog.
You want to get back in the game? Prove it. Sergeant Rodriguez was a legend. Family funeral Sunday outside of Nogales. They want his dog at the funeral.
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, the movie.
日没と同時に我々は百鬼夜行を行う地獄絵図を描きたくな
We have 2 new movies on the chart this week, and one of them is very surprising. BTS Permission to Dance on Stage. Actually, I'm not sure whether it's a performance of a previous concert or it's a live streaming from Korea. But anyway, it wasn't released in Taiwan. It was only in North America, but it was popular enough to be on the chart. I have to say that BTS is very famous, very popular in North America. And I'm not sure if it's not on the chart next week. It's probably a live streaming. Second one of top 5, Untouchable. It's a Taiwanese movie and it's about gangsters. But I think the English title is very interesting. How come they are untouchable? And maybe it's a theme of the movie that will be touched upon. So if you're interested in Taiwanese gangster culture, you can go watch Untouchable. As for the 2 movies of top 4, we've talked about them over the weeks. First one, Dog. I mentioned in the previous weeks that it's already out of the theater in Taiwan, but it's still very popular in the US. So if you are interested and you live in Taiwan, maybe you need to wait for it on TV or when it's on Catch Play Plus. Last but not least, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero the movie. I think it's really awesome that it stays on the chart for so many weeks. And although it's not on top 3, it still performs pretty well. Although it's not as good as Demon Slayer, is still a pretty popular animation among youngsters. Well, actually not only youngsters, I think adults as well. Especially because this movie is, I don't know, is it PG-13 or 15 or something? So I don't think kids too young can watch it. But it's about time to move on to top 3 to top 1. Top 3, Incantation.
你们相信祝福吗？
Top 2, Uncharted.
They're not gone. They're just lost.
Top 1, The Batman.
Fear is a tool. But when that light hits the sky,
Alright, so top 2 and top 1 stay the same. We have a newcomer, Incantation, as top 3 this week. But you know me, I don't talk horror movies. But since it's top 3, I think we ought to talk about it a little bit. Maybe not a little bit, maybe I will finish all the time talking about it. Incantation is said to be the scariest horror movie in Taiwanese film history ever. And according to friends of mine who went see it, it's not that scary. But I guess it's because those people who actually went for it are people who love watching horror movies. So I don't believe them. And I've read some articles related to this movie. They all say that the director tries the techniques about hypnotizing in the movie, and that's the reason why people feel scared. And it's not because you're cursed, it's because you're hypnotized, and it's just as scary. I personally didn't go see the movie, so don't worry about spoilers, but I'm going to talk about something that appeared in the movie. No spoiler, but if you still don't want to know anything about the movie, maybe you should turn off right now. So according to those articles, they say that in the beginning of the movie, it shouldn't be the director because it's the protagonist. The leading actress will talk to the audience. She will say, "Do you believe in blessings?" And she would ask, I'm not sure, but she might ask the audience to repeat after her right now. A curse. An 8-word curse. But she says, this is a blessing. And then during the movie, she will ask the audience to do a gesture as well. And she would say that, oh, this is a blessing. But actually, all these chants and gestures you do are curses in the movie. And the audience wouldn't know about this until the very end. And that's when people with weak minds will be affected, or should I say hypnotized. And that's the scary part. Some of my friends are still debating whether to watch it or not. And one of them told me that she's wondering whether to watch it after watching the trailer, because the trailer itself is very scary, especially the last scene. I don't know, I expect to see some jump scare in the last scene or some ghost face. I don't know, but I will not watch it. But if you love horror movies and you think yourself as a very courageous audience, maybe you can go watch Incantation this weekend and tell me whether it's really scary or not. It's been raining for a week and it seems that it's going to rain for a few more days. So stay dry and remember to come back next week. Bye bye!